we'll call these ones the late IHP show with Maria. A little nighttime recap on how amazing it is to be a 3-year-old with a whole heart. So when you're using your left and right mode, so one, we use them, they're equally important, but there are different structural components to them. 2, people who have not worked through their 3-year-old, if there's a broken heart, attachment wounds, trauma, they don't know the beauty just yet of their integrated brain. So it's only once they learn about self-regulation that there's no devil, evil, demon, none of that stuff. But that's for, the person to begin to be aware of. I want to have relationships. I want to feel inside. I want to be a person who can move into the optimization of Human 101 versus the stories of being scum of the earth or being monsters or, watch just a crappy movie for an Enlightenment soul age group person, mystic or not, but 5D mystics even more so, because it's like, the plane of the whole devil, evil, demon stuff, it's a plane in the mind's eye. It doesn't happen and does not take over. When we see people and the whole temptation, it's not about sins and again, once they're dead, it's about a person who has unfinished business, unresolved trauma. They have situations that took place at a certain point. They've made choices that have led them down to becoming a person who has basically an inner critic, an outer critic, the rumination, shame cycle, inner critic, outer critic, and then denying the emotions, shoving them down through drugs, alcohol, sex, food, things that movies make look cool. Or I don't know if they made them look cool or they just didn't know. That's what I'm going to do, is they didn't know about unresolved trauma way back when. Because there's a lot of updated information thanks to technology, and they still don't know a lot of things. So we even have the subject matter experts, neuroscientists, biologists, the mental health community as a whole. There's the psychologists, psychiatrists. I'm sure there's a bunch of different titles that I don't know. But all in all, when it comes to humanity, they know our nature is love, because there's also lovely Stephen Porges with polyvagal theory talking about our ventral vagal nervous system state, the mammalian heritage of ours, and how to be in social engagement. And so once your brain is integrated with or without spirituality at all, it's you using your human being structure. And long story short, when life throws you a curveball, what a 5D mystic knows is you're being given the opportunity to tend to learn how to self-regulate. So some people, they begin life with an unfortunate beginning, and their first 3 years of life have a bunch of implicit memory that isn't really great or dandy. Because in time we created stories, and people like stories. Who's the people? The ones who are not their functional adults. So they don't know how to use the left and right equally and be in equanimity yet, because that would mean that I and you know how to use our subjective words and subjective experience to remember that I gained information a certain way, so did you, and I can express my personal opinions as you can as well, and that my point of view and your point of view, they're thoughts, not truths, so there's no need for cognitive dissonance. That's what functional adults know, and 5D mystics. 4D, on the other hand, life throws them a curveball. They say, well, human suffering, it's the only way. And since humans are broken and evil, and they don't want to do any good to each other, and they abandon each other, and they do a lot of other things. So in that suffering, they don't move out of rumination. The curveball that was thrown basically has them saying, I'm going to blame the human species. I'm going to blame the devil and evil. I'm going to blame and say that it has triumphed, because I'm going to see my species and say they're all awful, and I'm going to then become a person who is bitter and say that there is nothing good, or a lot of other things. So have this darkness around me and talk about a plane that doesn't exist except for in the way that you're experiencing it from your own nervous system, because instead of working with your emotional attachment system, your societal system, so your physiological brain, you decided to use the biochemistry of fear and stay in rumination. And so to use the neuroplasticity in a way that didn't allow you to say, wait, I'm having a lot of in-depth emotions because I'm going through something that's unknown, unexpected. This is what a curveball is. It means you don't expect it. And it's every person that moves from 4D to 5D knows what I'm talking about. Because it's the moment that you're going to be given the opportunity to dismantle, and whatever it is, it's unique to every person. So for some of us, for example, those of us who are always in our right mode with our left. So our right mode is where I'm looking at my notes. The sense of connection you feel, and it's a beautiful, beautiful way. The depths of sensations, you're immersed in flow. The right is, that's where our consciousness is, and that's where everything that you begin feeling since the day you're born, because up till the age of 2, Daniel Siegel was telling me in one of my courses that the right mode is what's online. Then the left mode comes online. The left mode is when we begin to make explicit or at least autobiographical memories. I think that's how he was posing it, but it's a chit-chatter one. So it creates logic, and that's when we begin asking why. So the left mode breaks things down, and it's only in digital. And we use both. So there's no preference, but you want to know you use both, and you want to be able to use both. The people who have unfinished business and trauma that they haven't processed, they don't use their right mode. Because when the emotions come up, what they've been in the habit of doing, depending on what level of heartbreak, gut-wrenched, torn apart trauma going on, and attachment wounds, that's why it's a very complex aspect that only a person who chooses, instead of saying, oh, life threw me a curveball because humans are shitty, there's no God, there's only the devil and evil, evil has won, love doesn't exist, people abandon you, I'm always going to be alone, all these teenage sentences that then they grow up to use, because some people, it's simply put that. It's not because of a level of neglect that is emotional and traumatic that equates, for example, the disorganized attachment category, that has an actual inner conflict because their attachment system and their defense system are both activated due to the household being a complete terror. So that person has their emotional body cut off and it's disconnected. Doesn't mean they don't have emotions. It means as emotions arise, they're going to be so overwhelmed, they're just going to have to say, I need to. They won't even know what's going on. Their window of tolerance is going to be off the root. They're going to have a pattern that they are aware of, but not really aware of, because the movies like Hangover or Mean Girls or just grab any of them, they basically have people think that what we see is actually human nature versus have good psych education on the bottom of it all, and no, that's all people that don't know how to self-regulate. They don't know how to work with secure attachment in their own body, and they don't know how to use their left and right. So the left is all about right or wrong. That's it. It's like a robot. In fact, there's nothing fun, as Daniel Siegel is presenting the left at a certain point. I'm like, wow. So the left is about the destination and why. If you don't tell me why and you're not linearly telling why, then it's very cold. In fact, I've met people that only do left. It's in the absence of the depths of anything, because they get into a rigid form, and that's black and white thinking. So it's adaptive child, which is where they try to prove they're right. They're keeping the conversation. That's why if a person notices themselves, they'd be able to say, wait a minute, I can get a little bit easier on this whole interaction. After all, it's a social situation. So the right mode of our brain, it has everything to do with nonverbal. And so eye contact, facial expressions, tone of voice, posture, gestures, timing, and intensity. Everything that you pick up, if you're picking me up, it's for your right mode. Left mode is hearing me, the linguistic, and it is, if anything, if you're a 5D mystic, then you're enjoying the conversation. If you're a functional adult as well. If you're a person who needs to prove something, then you're breaking everything down and trying to figure. I don't use words in the way of the dictionary, by the way. So yeah, FYI, it's best if you have no assumptions whatsoever, if you can. So no stereotypes, no generalizations, and stuff like that. So when a curveball is thrown to people like myself, we're like, wait, here, let me catch it. Okay, I can handle it, because emotions are the most amazing part of life. But that's because we have a good relationship with our 3-year-old. So once all people are here, they get to know our human nature as well, because they get to be in their left and right mode together. So tune in for more, and don't let those curveballs twist it or turn it around. Humans are awesome. We have infinite higher human consciousness potential, but it's only going to tap into it if you tap into your brain and your body.